There are apparently a half dozen ways to break into singer-songwriter dom, and the Kerrville Young Folk Contest. Many of the young folk are in their 50s, so don't get worried about that.
New folk.
Is it new folk now?
New folk.
New folk. They call it new folk now. All right.
It
It
always has
has historically been one of the good ones. Uh, on the singer-songwriter circuit tour, if you can put Kerrville finalist on your poster, you get a better turnout. So for the guys that are trying to do that, on the road, it's a big deal. There are lots of venues that if you're a Kerrville finalist, they don't even audition you; they just schedule you because they know you'll do the show. And a strangely large number of big name, sort of country folk musicians have been through there. I guess the biggest name now is Lyle Lovett, and Towns Van Zandt is another big name. What are some of the other big names that have been new folk?
Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Yeah. Robert
Please
Earl
don't.
Keen.
Please talk one at a time,
Nancy Griffith.
Sarah.
Sarah. But all of these people have really started their career. They were always real local. Lyle Lovett just played local beer joints till he came here, and then he took that finalist thing, and now he's married to some fancy movie star and lives in L.A. and drives only 500 Mercedes and bigger. And in the old days, before it got so professional, many of us would also cut. What you used to do is on a cassette tape, you put your three best songs on it. And the first two were used as the preliminary, and then the third one was the final, okay, to break ties and stuff like that. And so they would accept the best 40 people. So you used to see a whole lot of buttons around here that said 41, because that's where I came in on the list as number 41. You could tell when it was a cassette. You could tell how you did, because what Rod Kennedy would do is he would listen, and you had to get him like in the first 4 or 6 bars. There had to be something there, and he would listen to your first song, and then he'd carry over and listen to your second song. And if you were at the end of that, then you would become on the short list. If on the other, about 3 bars into the second song, it stopped because they returned the tape to you, then you knew that's all he needed. You'd done your one song and it was good, but your second song is that they did not rewind the tape. I sent 3, 4, 5 different tapes, and 2 of them he listened to the whole second song, and on the other 2, it was about 4 bars, and he'd had enough, and just hit the old eject button. But that was really fun back then. But then it got too slick, and the production, instead of just being on your cassette recorder, you used to just do it on your home cassette recorder. But people started going into the studio with, auto tune and all that stuff. So, big production value. So it became very hard to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Anyhow, New Folk continues to be incredibly popular.
One of the things I really enjoy is playing with other people.
But that's, of course, the reason that these people come and camp out here. There's 2 reasons to come and camp. One is to go back and be a hippie for a couple of weeks. But the real reason is to sit around and jam and hear people jamming. Even if you're not playing your guitar for the song, it's really nice. That sort of spontaneous music making is really, really nice. I frankly come here for the jamming. There have been Kerrvilles that I've never gone to the main stage. I like the little stage a lot better. You know, it's intimate and interactive. But that big thing with, especially when you get 7,000 people in there, I sort of get claustrophobic. You know, I look around. What if all these people rushed and all tried to touch me at the same time? I understand why they would want to. I do understand why they would want to do that.
They're animals.
The spiritual potential, you know. It's like my guru, Sun, Moon, Stars, Baba Ganoush. You know, he told me that he refers to it as your animal energy. And he says mine, of course, was the energy of a chimpanzee. And he could tell because of the calluses on the back of my knuckles.
Please don't feed the
This is, yes, please don't feed peanuts to my God. Um, you know, that the whole business here. I used to drink, and sometimes David Coulter would lead me down a dark and dreary, dismal life.
Precarious, huh?
And completely against my will, twisting my arm and using a funnel would get me to consume too much Irish whiskey or bourbon. And I'd reach the point, and then I would take my guitars and lock them in my car so I wouldn't play them. And then I'd go and borrow other people's. I would try to borrow the good high-end guitars. One of my favorite ones is David one time was standing up sort of right by the campfire, and somebody wanted him to play a song, and they handed him in today's money, a $9,000 Martin with pearl all over it, you know, model 45 D45, and he's sitting up there and he starts waving, you know, you know, it's the rhomboid sign and consciousness not quite being there. And his Edinburgh coma scale was climbing. Actually, it falls, it goes backwards, and he got down to about 2, and he still has this $9,000 guitar standing right next to the fire. And he finished the song and gave the guitar back, but I was afraid I was going to have to lie, you know, 3 times before the cock crows. I don't know him. No, I don't know him. I thought you saw with it. Must have been somebody else. Okay. We grew. Oh, the story of how we got Janet is sort of fun. We were camping here, and Janet, not knowing any better, bless her heart, came in and put her little pop-up tent right next door, right over there, next door to us. And she and Carice was there, and they had gotten themselves suitably intoxicated and were sitting in sort of matching lawn chairs watching the people walk by. Then Dick Walker and David Coulter and I decided that we needed to go and investigate what was happening over there. And so we went over and we insisted that they come to dinner. And, you know, we fed them and insisted that they stay around and join in the monkey business. And bless their hearts, their family had raised them up to be good moral women. But then they met sweetness and light. And now, after a couple years after that, it turned out that Janet was the other alpha male of Campus Sweetness and Light. When we had the T-shirts that said Alfalfa Male on it, she surely got her Alfalfa Male T-shirt. And then she came up with the really good idea, which is the showcases. It's just really nice. It's a little performance after the performance, but it's at most 30 or 40 people. You know, it's like a house concert.
Tell us about that, like in a complete kind of, you have house concerts, like after after the
Main
stage
stage.
closes down, we
Yep.
have these concerts.
We do, and we've
But you say it like in a complete set, like a in a
the
complete,
story.
yeah.
Yes, Janet just had this strikingly good idea. She is also the alpha male of what is called urban campfires in San Antonio, which is sort of a overblown, metastasized house concert and potluck supper. And she had people that she wanted more folks to see even than that. So she decided to have little showcases. She had come back from Folk World or one of those places and had learned about that. So she brought this very elaborate whiteboard and would write a little sign up there, and we started having it. And it was shockingly good fun. At first, it was the usual suspects, all right? But then it became very attractive to, again, the people trying to get enough reputation so they could play in different venues all around. And some people got some dates because they had been seen here. And so now they start bugging Janet to come play at our little things. Um, shoot, starting in the early spring. February was the first one. And we've gotten better and better acts, and it's really lovely. We haven't gotten in trouble with the management because we're very picky that we don't overlap. And what we do is we wait until they're finished there and they're leaving, and then we start. And I keep saying we, like I had some management in this. It's actually Janet that does it. All right. And I think as neat as it can be, about half the time we capture those people and have them sit around and do a jam afterwards. Yeah, those are really hot jams. But that's just one of the interesting things. But that's just one of the interesting things. One of the things about the whole festival is there are lots and lots of little embedded traditions. Okay, one of the best ones is the Rouses, who have always sort of made a home for people in the New Folk concert. And she feeds them breakfast, and they hang out and introduce each other. And that, shoot, that probably is more valuable than actually getting up on the stage, because you can meet people from all over different towns. And so if you're then trying to put a tour together, you have somebody that you know you can call, and he'll introduce you to venue managers. There's that, there's Camp Cuisine. Um, there, is Camp California dead? Yes. Camp California, I think, is dead.
Rebel Kitchen,
Camp Coho.
Camp Energy.
Yeah, but Camp Coho, see, that's really weird. They're really cold there. They're about as far from sweetness and light in terms of energy and philosophical position as you can get. They're famous for the one guitar going around in a circle. Well, they sing one song at a time, and there'll be 30 of them, and you'll sit there all night and get to sing 2 songs or play on them. I mean, at least at Cuisine, somebody will do a song and you can play along if you want to, but most of the time at Coho, there's only one instrument permitted. Camp Stupid one is running as my favorite. For years, I think they probably still do. They brought an upright piano and a full drum kit, and would play boogie woogie and Texas swing and do very many interesting things. And they are even crazier than we are, I believe.
Full bar.
Say what?
Full bar.
Oh yes, they always have a full bar too. There's another good tradition that is the David Magnet. During the whole first weekend, David will say, "I'm going to the main stage," but he rarely gets there because he has to go by Loser Camp, which is a whole bunch of friends of ours that used to live in Denton and Fort Worth, in places like that, and they are very wild and crazy. And for some reason, they love our friend Dave Coulter, and they just suck him right up on top of that hill. And for 2 hours is about his minimum stay. And what'd you say? He lies. Last night on the main stage, we heard about Bungie Camp. Remember, he said that he came here and was thought everybody was strange, and he found himself the next morning sitting around the camp with his feet in a wading pool. And that was Camp Bungie for years did that. And they would put a table on top of the wading pool so they could play dominoes, all right, while their feet were sitting in the water. And they claimed it kept you cool. There was a fad, if you remember the little fishes. It was a pedicure thing. You went to the Vietnamese pedicure place and they put your feet in there and they had little fishes that would eat the dry and dead skin and bite it off. I was always wanting to do that, to do Bungie Camp, maybe with some piranha. They also take the dead flesh off. And that just seemed like an interesting thing. What else can we say?
You want to play a song?
About it? No, I don't think I do. My guitar is not out and it's not tuned. I can talk about the Hot Club hats.
Okay, Hot Club hats.
I'm wearing one now, this year's. I think that this is the 21st or 22nd Hot Club hat. And it started off years ago when the ranch was sold. And it was sold in a limited offering to people that had been regular customers here and were likely. And it was sold as a closely held corporation, so you didn't have to do big reports. And the consortium that included the folks here and some other folks, the other peaks, put together, and we had to have a name for it, and we had to have a name for it right then because I was filling out the form. And I've always loved Django Reinhardt. And so I wrote Hot Club to Kerrville with a K for club, because, you know, around here everything is K and Kerr. And so once we had this organization, it seemed only suitable to have some badge of it. And so we started making the Hot Club hats, and we give them to people that come into camp and amuse us. Okay, you can't get one for asking. Actually, that's one of the rules. If you come in and ask for a Hot Club camp, then on that visit you may not get one, regardless of how amusing you are. It's a little bit of a catch-22. And but people strangely like Hot Club hats. And some of my people I've talked to, they take them home and they wear them out every year. And I think it's wonderful.